Hi guys, I'm about a minute early, so just giving everyone a chance to log in. So bear with me, I'll get to some introductions in a tick while we wait for everyone to arrive. There's a few of you joining us today, so yeah, I'll get started in a crack. It's about 2 p.m. my time. I think gosh, it must be sort of the evening for a lot of you over your way. So yeah, I'll make a start. It's about time now, but as people tune in, I'll maybe reintroduce myself a couple of times for new folks as they turn up. So my name's Hannah. I'm one of Active Adventures travel gurus. A little bit about me first and how I came to Active. I first discovered Active Adventures after settling down in the adventure capital of the world, or at least what I think is the adventure capital of the world, Queenstown, New Zealand. I loved all the outdoor opportunities that Active presented me with, and I was super keen to get into as much of the incredible backcountry scenery around the world that they offered. So yeah, working for them seemed like a pretty natural step, and here I am today getting to share with like-minded people like you guys about some of the places we here at Active like to get out and explore during what would be, I think for most of you joining us here today, your off season or winter, but for us down here it's our summer. So again, for those that are just tuning in, my name's Hannah. I'll do a little bit of housekeeping before we crack into it. At the bottom of your screen here, if you wiggle your mouse, you will see that there is a few little buttons. So you've got the raise hand feature. Now I'll be using that throughout. So it may be a good start might be raise your hand if you can hear me okay. So I should be able to see some hands raised. We've got a few of you raising your hands, so that's a good start. Yeah, okay, it looks like most of you can hear me, which is great. I can see lots of hands raising. Fantastic. Cool. Okay, and then we also have a little a chat and a Q&A button as well next to the raise hand button. So just to make things easier for myself today, rather than using both of these, if you have questions, could you please pop them in the Q&A button? So you can click on that and you can just type them in there. I probably won't get to them throughout the presentation just so that I don't keep getting interrupted, but pop them in there anyway and I'll get to them at the end. But yeah, there's so much that I could talk about tonight, but I'll just be covering, some of the main points and highlights. And then if we have a little bit of time left, I'll try and answer some of those questions. So let's get into it. Where are we going exploring? So like I said earlier, most of you joining us today will be here because you live in the Northern Hemisphere and are keen to escape the cold. So yeah, we here at Active have collectively rated 3 destinations as the perfect places to go and get your sunshine and hiking fix, or as we like to say down here, make sure you don't stay pasty. I don't know if you've heard that one before, but yeah, these are the places that we recommend. We're obviously all really keen outdoors people at Active, so you'll notice we haven't chosen destinations that just involve sitting on a beach. Most of the people that ask us for advice are like-minded, so like most likely all of you here today. So yeah, let's get into it. The 3 destinations that we here at Active think are the best places to head to and escape the Northern Hemisphere winter are Patagonia, Galapagos and New Zealand. Today I'm going to chat to you a wee bit about some of the reasons why we're here at Active. I think these 3 spots are must-do destinations in your off-season, and I'll run through some of the highlights of each, which you would get to tick off if you can make it happen, hopefully this winter. I'll leave the best bit though till last, that being New Zealand. I'm obviously biased, and also totally aware that some of you may have already ticked off one or two of these spots off your bucket list before. So bear with me, and while I get to any of the destinations you haven't been to yet. So let's start with Patagonia. So Patagonia, known for its huge glaciers, impressive lakes and volcanoes, and of course Torres del Paine National Park, which is home to the mind-blowing W trek. It's a hike shaped like a W, funny that. So yeah, the best times to visit now through to March. So not sure if any of you guys have been to New Zealand before, but Patagonia is a similar latitude to us down here. It's just a wee bit further south, so the weather's similar. The Patagonia season starts usually in October and finishes in March, and yeah, so it's opposite to when you guys would normally be out hiking back home. Typically at this time you'd get warm blue clear sky days, but yeah, it is a mountainous area, so weather can pass through at any time. So there might be a bit of wind here and there, but for the most part you'll be out hiking in your shorts and your t-shirt and your summer gears. Temperatures during this time typically in the 60s and 70s, that's Fahrenheit. And north versus south, we get asked that quite a lot. When it comes to Patagonia, you know, there's a ton of exploring for you guys to do, and choosing between the north versus south, I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. They're both very different. So yeah, if you have the time, I'd most certainly recommend doing both. Some of the highlights, if you can get there, in the south, which is the glacier country, it's home to the towering peaks of Torres del Paine National Park. It's just some of the most incredible scenery that you'll ever see. It's really out of this world. It's a super remote and mountainous area. So in southern Patagonia, you'll find the W trek, Perito Moreno Glacier, and Mont Fitzroy hikes. Then in the north, very diverse. That's where you find all the volcanoes, lakes, lush rainforests, and authentic Patagonian culture. I would say it's kind of where all the locals go and take their holidays. So yeah, you've got the likes of Huilo Biological Reserve. You've got Osorno Volcano and the Northern Fjords. Patagonia it's really an amazing region, packed with some of the best views. You'll hopefully be able to experience both, but if you have to pick, oh gosh, that is a tough one. So yeah, we'll move on and we'll talk about Galapagos, another favourite. So you'll see a little map here on the left. That's some of the places that I'll talk about a little bit later. But if you love wildlife, then yeah, Galapagos is a must see. And if you love snorkeling, diving, kayaking, biking, and hiking, then yeah, it's definitely a must do. You know, there's various islands to choose from, as you can see here. And the Galapagos, it doesn't fall short of things to see and do. Every island has something new and different. And I think, the Galapagos as a destination is the perfect balance of adventure, nature, education, and leisure. It really is all of those things. So yeah, best times to visit. All year round. You can be sure that winter isn't a possibility on the equator. People go there all year round to encounter the diverse wildlife. Each month, it brings with it something different, different wildlife changes. So yeah, like over the next few months, you'll see, the giant tortoise eggs start to hatch. You've got the sea lions, the first sea lions starting to breed. Iguanas nesting, penguins migrating. So yeah, these next few months, they're also the most optimal time when it comes to water temperatures. So you can snorkel and dive there all year round, but if you prefer warmer water, then we better get you over there ASAP. So some of the highlights of the Galapagos islands definitely kick a rock. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about that one. You've got your famous islands such as San Cristobal, Isabella, and Santa Cruz, which is home to the Charles Darwin Research Centre. And then you've got Sierra Negra volcano, and of course all of those wildlife opportunities that come with this network of islands. It really is, it truly is the diverse wildlife encounters that come with each island that make this part of the world truly magnificent, and a place that you'll explore it's really like nowhere else. Now, I said I'd leave the last destination to last, New Zealand. I've definitely left this for last because clearly I'm a Kiwi myself, so I would say if there is one place that you should really consider escaping the winter for, it's definitely here. I mean, the summer is just beginning down here. Right now, I'm looking out over the lake here in Queenstown at the surrounding mountains, and the sun is shining, and yeah, I would say it's heaven on earth. A bit cheesy, but it's pretty darn good. But just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you have ever been to New Zealand. Okay, couple hands. So looks like we need to get some of you guys down here. Yeah, so New Zealand, like I said, it doesn't have to be some faraway dreamland that just stays in travellers' imaginations. And yeah, we're famous for our incredibly diverse landscapes and great Kiwi hospitality. I would like to say that, yeah, we really is an ideal place to spend the summer and escape your winter. We have an abundance of hiking trails and 9 great walks, as we call them. A rich history and still prevalent Indigenous Māori culture, home to the adventure capital, which is where I'm based. So we invented the bungee jumping, jet boats. You can also go caving, skydiving, whitewater rafting. You get the idea, but there really is something for everyone in our little piece of paradise. Best times to visit all year round. Yeah, we're really lucky down here. We don't get extremes, meaning, we can head out hiking all year round. Similar to Patagonia, my next question that we get asked a lot, north versus south. If you aren't really familiar with the two islands, yeah, they're both really different. I grew up in the north and have since moved south for a number of years. The North Island and the south, really different. Yeah, I'd recommend doing both. The North Island has a lot more of a subtropical feel than the south. So yeah, think lots of white sandy beaches, rolling green hills, beautiful peninsulas and coves. And then you've got the volcanic plateau, where you'll find lots of rocky volcanic mountain hikes, and that's where a lot of the Māori culture can be found. Then yeah, you've got the South Island. So the South Island is your quintessential New Zealand. That's where you'll find the Southern Alps, big lakes and glaciers. So if you make it down here, some of the highlights that you might have already heard about. We've got the Waitomo Caves. Those are where you'll find the biggest network of glowworms. Number of New Zealand's famous great walks, like the Tongariro Crossing, the Root Burn, the Kepler Track, and Milford Track. You've got Milford Sound, which is the real beauty and why the Milford Track was first built. Franz Josef Glacier, and Mount Cook, which is our highest mountain. So let's have a little break from talking about destinations. I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts on, a few things you'd need to do to make a trip of a lifetime like this happen. And these are just honest opinions that, when you're looking to make a trip like this happen, these are some of the things you should look out for. Firstly, I think, being able to let someone take care of the logistics. I don't know about you guys, but I nearly always set out with the intention of trying to plan a trip like this for myself, and it doesn't take me long to realize that I should just leave my trip up to the locals and the experts who know the lay of the land better than the hundreds of tourists who have visited these destinations probably once, and they go and they blog about it online, and that's all very well, but yeah, I just know I'm not the only one who does this, because a lot of people originally get in touch looking to do something on their own and then end up coming along with us as they realise they'll get to see and do so much more in their time here. So yeah, the best investment is to have someone just take care of all the small stuff so you guys can just focus on actually enjoying your trip. Next, I'd say two things. Pick an operator who will help you, firstly, avoid the crowds. I know some of you will be thinking, how do you do that by coming during the summer or peak season? Everyone wants to escape the winter. But, well, at the end of the day, it comes down to picking the right operator. So go with an established group. Someone who has crafted their trips in a way to see some of these spots, but at a time they know when there'll be less people visiting. And yeah, you should pick an operator who will get you off the beaten track. There's no doubt that some of these highlights that I listed just before for each of these destinations are bucket list spots, and absolutely they're worth seeing in the right way, like I just mentioned. But a trip of a lifetime to one of these destinations should almost definitely include getting you off the beaten track and into the real backcountry stuff that only the locals know about. Definitely. And lastly, pick a trip that's active. A bit of a play on words there. Obviously, we'd love for you to join us, but what I mean here is if you're going to one of these destinations, the best way to see the scenery in all three of these spots is definitely under your own steam. Make sure you're not on a bus tour where you'll only experience the sights through a window. And yeah, the more active, the more off the beaten track you can go. But you guys all know this because I don't think you would have signed up today for an active adventures webinar if you weren't the active type. And then lastly, pick a trip that's all-inclusive. So what I mean by this is just don't go budget. Budget operators often hide costs from you, and there'll be a lot of add-ons. It's just better off to save up and do it well. I mean, if you have limited vacation time and you're going all the way to some of these destinations, you want to make sure you get it right because you might not make it back there. And yeah, you get what you pay for on most organised trips. A cheap trip will give you a cheap experience and vice versa. So that's just my little take on when you're looking for an operator or trying to make something like this happen. Obviously, I wouldn't, it'd be silly for me to not to tell you to come with us. Today we run trips in all of these 3 destinations. So a little bit about us and what we do and who we are. So we're owned and operated for over 23 years now. We take small groups into the backcountry scenery all over the world, and it's all under your own steam. So that's through things like hiking, biking, and kayaking. Our trips are designed for real people, not mountain marathon runners, although if you are, that's fine too. But it is, it's all about going out there, going at your own pace and taking lots of stops along the way to enjoy and soak up the beautiful scenery, because that's super important to us. That's really what it's all about. And we are flexible, so nothing on our trips is mandatory. It's your holiday. You can do as much or as little as you want. With all of our trips here at Active, we are flexible, and we do have options to suit a range of fitness levels. And by all means, don't freak out if you haven't, if you've never done one of the activities like biking or kayaking before. These things are optional too. So yeah, it'd be cool to let us take care of every detail so you guys can maximize your time. So I'll tell you a little bit about some of the trips that we run in these destinations. So we've got our Southern Patagonia adventure. It's called the Condor. It's a 9 to 14 day multi-activity trip. And yeah, it gives you the best opportunity to see a huge diversity of locations in just 2 weeks. Some of the trip highlights include exploring both Chile and Argentina. So a lot of trips will only maybe do one or the other. You've got the multi-day W trek in Torres del Paine National Park. So we hike the full W trek, staying in the mountain refugios along the way. You've got Magdalena Island the penguin colony. So there's It's the largest penguin colony in southern Chile, so there's about 60,000 breeding pairs. And then we kayak and boat cruise on Grey Lake, so that's where, you know, you'll get to experience the magic of paddling right up next to the giant icebergs that have broken away from the glacier. We hike to the base of Mont Fitzroy. So yeah, the views of these towering peaks are a real highlight. You'll get the opportunity to stand right at the foot of the glacial lake and get close-up views of Mont Fitzroy. And yeah, we also visit Perito Moreno Glacier. So this is where you go to watch those huge blocks of ice crack off the glacier's terminal face and splash heavily into the water. So that's quite a spectacle. Then we have our Northern Patagonia adventure. Now this is an 8 to 14 day multi-activity trip. It's an incredible way to for you to experience not just some of the beautiful Northern Patagonia scenery, but it's also an opportunity to head to where the locals go on their holidays. So yeah, there's this real feel of being a little bit more off the beaten track up in this part of Patagonia, and that's something we really value and like to offer here at Active. So some of the trip highlights on this trip, we'll be visiting 4 national parks, and they're all renowned for their diverse mountains, glaciers, volcanoes, all packed into a relatively small area. We're going to explore the Ring of Fire, which is basically the land of volcanoes. So yeah, it's also not only known for its lakes, but equally renowned for its perfect volcanic peaks. So we'll get to hike on one of Patagonia's most famous volcanoes, also known as volcano. And then we're going to explore Wilo Wilo Reserve. So that's a 600 kilometres squared private biological reserve and ecotourism project filled with native forest and wildlife. So I think there's over 80 known bird species there, and of course the elusive puma. And yeah, there's lots of quirky lodging. So you can see in this picture, there's some funky lodging to check out. Definitely a highlight of that reserve. And then yeah, we're going to sea kayak some of the world's most dramatic fjords. So yeah, the fjords over there are home to incredible waterfalls, which they just tumble right off the huge granite peaks. And then there's others with, you know, steep green forested walls of the Andes. They rise, you know, up 7,000 feet above the water. So it's incredible. Next, we've got our Galapagos trip, the Tortuga. So that one's a 10-day multi-activity trip, obviously wildlife focused. We'll be meeting the giant tortoise and iguanas, swimming and diving with turtles and rays at Kicker Rock. So yeah, Kicker Rock juts about 500 feet up out of the water, and then below it, you know, it's a home to an abundance of tropical fish and friendly sea turtles and other things. Snorkel with reef sharks at Florina Island. So you can do this at a number of places, but one of the best spots is off Florina Island. This island is basically uninhabited. So yeah, it really has an interesting history of pirates and settlers, and yeah, it just makes it one of the most talked about islands in the Galapagos. It's so remote that you'll literally feel like you're one of the first pioneers on the island. And then obviously optional diving. So yeah, we'll also cycle on San Cristobal Island, which is quite close to Kicker Rock, and it's home to one of the largest sea lion colonies. And we will hike Sierra Negra Volcano and Santa Cruz Island, and then we will be kayaking Isabella Island. Also, just to mention, we do have another trip which we run, and it takes in both the Galapagos and Peru. So if you're interested in seeing Machu Picchu as well, that's yeah, as well as the islands, that we can definitely get you some information on that trip as well. But I won't go into too much more detail about the Galapagos because I've got the best part, which is New Zealand. It's where Active Adventures first originated and where we are based out of. So we have a raft of adventures to choose from down here. Our trips, they vary from 5 to 14 days. We've got 9 different adventures to choose from across both the north and the south. We've got hiking specific trips, biking specific trips, multi-activity trips, and family trips. So yeah, what you want to experience during your time in New Zealand is completely up to you, and because it's all in our backyard, we're really flexible at accommodating what you want out of your time. So yeah, if you make it to the North Island, we will be sandboarding some of the sand dunes. Topoi sand dunes, which can be found right up the tippy top of the North Island. Even if you don't want to give sandboarding a go, this spot is a must visit. It's like nowhere else in New Zealand or in the North Island. We're going to head to the Bay of Islands. This place is most definitely a little slice of paradise, and it's home to a number of little seaside towns, remote islands, and one of my favourite hikes, Cape Brett. Then we're going to go to Paul Knight's Island. That is, I'm sure a lot of you will know who Jacques Cousteau is, but he rated Paul Knight's Island as one of the top 10 marine reserves in the world. So here you'll find the world's largest sea cave, and a myriad of fish, whales, dolphins, orcas. So yeah, you'll definitely have the chance to get in the water and snorkel, dive, and kayak if you're into that. And then, yeah, we're going to bike Whakaweta, which is one of New Zealand's best biking spots by a mile. Completely optional as well, all these activities. You'll also get to be a part of a tribal gathering. So New Zealand's Indigenous culture is strong, particularly in the North Island. So we'll be taking you along to Te Puea, where you'll get to hang out with some of the local tribes, maybe learn some of the lingo and language. I can say, no mai haere mai, tēnā koe kātou, tēnā koe. But yeah, my Māori's not very good, but you will learn some of that along the way for sure. And then, yeah, you've got the Tongariro Alpine Crossing. So that's one of the 3 great walks. We only have 3 great walks in the North Island. Located in the country's oldest national park. So that crosses arid volcanic terrain and goes past these strikingly blue and just crazy coloured lakes and active craters. Waitomo Caves, one of New Zealand's biggest underground cave networks, and magical glowworm grottos. Then we've got the South Island. So here, if you make it to the South Island, that's where we are based, down in Queenstown, you will get to check out Grandstros Glacier for sure. That's the steepest and fastest moving glacier in New Zealand. It has been recorded as moving up to 4 metres per day. I think that's massive. So the average glacier only moves around 50 centimetres to 1 metre per day. Nelson Lakes National Park. This is by far a local favourite and a place that most of the tourists don't go or don't get to go on their visit because of its remoteness. So here you'll get the chance to go out and do a multi-day hike, 3 days, 2 nights, staying in backcountry huts along the way. It's a real Kiwi experience. Some seriously unforgettable scenery, big lakes and even bigger mountains. Kayaking Marlborough Sounds, this is where some of the most beautiful, secluded sounds and coves can be found in New Zealand. Milford Sound, probably don't need to say too much about that one because everyone's heard of Milford Sound, but we definitely do it in a way, we're staying out there or close to there so that we're beating the crowds. That's really important. The Rootburn and the Kepler Track, 2 of the 3 great walks in Fiordland National Park. And then Mount Cook, which is New Zealand's highest mountain. Again, this national park, which holds Mount Cook, is completely unique to the others in New Zealand. So you'll get some pretty dramatic mountainous views here. And of course, a whole bunch of local gems. This is where we differ a wee bit from other operators, is that, amongst all of these bucket list spots that we offer, we've got a whole bunch of off the beaten track trails that most tourists haven't yet discovered. It's where us locals get out and do all of our hiking. So yeah, places, or hiking and other activities, like places like Okarito Lagoon. It's this little seaside town where we do some kayaking and I think the population is about 30 people, so it's a pretty hidden secret and an amazing spot. It's the only breeding ground of the white heron, so if you're into wildlife, you're in for a bit of a treat there. Places like Siberia Valley, you know, that's where it's a super remote mountainous area where we catch a scenic flight right through the Alps, and then we hike and again stay in some backcountry huts, and then we jet boat you out the next day. We obviously have a bit of an advantage down here than a lot of the overseas operators do at giving you the most authentic Kiwi experience. Secret locations that overseas operators who just aren't on the ground here just don't know about. So we also have some of the country's top local guides who are fantastic, and they have a wealth of knowledge around the flora, fauna, and the Māori culture and New Zealand history. So once you learn a little bit about the land and its people and its history, it'll just open up a whole new element of your trip. So we're nearing the end, and we thank you for you guys who turned up today. We want to give you guys some active dollars to put towards one of these much needed winter escapes. So active dollars is our very own AirPoints program. Everyone that completes an active adventure receives 200 active dollars, which can be used towards your next trip with us. So yeah, we want to extend this to you guys for coming along today and watching the webinar. Just let us know when you get in touch directly with us that you tuned in with me here today, and we'll go ahead and load those dollars onto your account. And yeah, it's valid for any active adventure made prior to December 31st. So to benefit from these, the adventure must be booked before December 31st this year for any departure heading out before July 1st, 2020. So that's basically all of the summer trips that we spoke about today. So I hope today has got you excited about the possibility of exploring some of these places soon. It's certainly not too late to plan a last minute adventure. I'm just going to pop a little poll up here because I am just curious to see what you guys think after listening to me talk today. And yeah, we'll try and get through a few questions, but if I don't get to yours today, just get back in touch with myself or one of our equally knowledgeable gurus here. They'll be happy to chat and catch up with you and go through those as well. I just wanted to let you guys know that I have popped the toll-free numbers here. So yeah, if you want to get a bit more information on things like hiking distances for the trip, contact details for help with flights, or just chat through those questions, jot down those numbers, you can catch us here. And I'm going to pop in some dates as well into the chat box. So if, yeah, for those of you that are keen to look at the dates, that should be working. I'm just popping them in the chat. So yeah, there are, yeah, if you want to see when our trips are scheduled and when you can join us down here or in Patagonia or Galapagos, yeah, you can just click on those and it will take you straight to the trip date page. So yeah, if you're keen, probably click on these now so that the screen pulls up and then you won't lose it when I finish talking today. So I'm just popping them in there. So just bear with me. While I do that, feel free to pop some questions in the Q&A and I will answer those in a tick. And the New Zealand dates last. Oh, so there's a few links there. Have fun clicking around with those. Okay, let's get to some questions. So I can also see, yeah, we've got a mixed response on the poll. Looks like a few people wanting to do all three. That's great. I don't blame you. Got, yeah, been a real mixture of Patagonia, Galapagos and New Zealand, which I'm not surprised about. Amanda, I can see your question here. I saw it pop up earlier, so let's get to yours first. So you've said, I will want details on the activity levels necessary for Galapagos, Peru hiking. My husband and I are very interested in the iguana tour. Yes, definitely, but yeah, but concerned on whether we would enjoy it. and be able to keep up any physical demands. That's definitely something that we get asked. You know, it gets brought up. It's a main fear for a lot of people. So yeah, you definitely should bear in mind that we are really flexible, and it's all about going at your own pace. So typically we have a couple guides, and that gives us lots of flexibility. It's definitely about going at your own pace. And what I can do is I can actually send, you know, we have day-to-day breakdowns of all the hiking distances and elevations. So we can definitely send those to you, and that will give you quite a good idea of, you know, how much elevations we're gaining, how long we're out hiking each day. But yeah, you certainly don't need to feel like you're going to be holding anyone up, because you'll find that lots and almost everyone's main concern is that. So it always works out really well. Danielle, so what ages of people do you typically have on these trips? That's a good question, actually, because it kind of maybe ties into the other question. So we typically tend to get people in their 40s, 50s and 60s. That's who we typically tend to get on our trips. And saying that, sometimes people in their 70s, occasionally people in their 30s, but yeah, mostly 40s, 50s and 60s. That's who we tend to see the most of on our trips. And it looks like another one. So how long would you recommend getting down to New Zealand for? That's another good question. So I would suggest no shorter than 2 weeks. So 2 weeks would be your minimum. 3 weeks is a good amount of time. So I would say 3 weeks if you're trying to do both the north and the south. Anything less, you're going to be spreading yourself too thinly. And if you've only got a couple weeks, probably just focus on one island and do it really well. That's what I would probably suggest, yeah. Any more questions? I'm sure there's lots, but I know the Q&A can be a bit intimidating sometimes. So yeah, if you guys do have any more questions, like I said, we've got the toll-free numbers if you want to give me a buzz. Happy to chat. And yeah, I'll be sending up a follow-up email tomorrow anyway, with the option to get the recording of today's webinar. So you can always flick me an email back if you're keen to chat further. But yeah, it's been awesome having you guys along today, and I hope that you guys will be yeah, getting a much deserved break. I imagine it's getting pretty hectic with Christmas and New Year's all coming up. So yeah, definitely get in touch if you've got just any questions in general about these destinations or about our trips. I'd be more than happy to chat, and same with the other guys here. They are equally as knowledgeable. So thank you so much for coming along today, guys. I'm going to say see ya, and yeah, just get in touch. Alrighty, see you later. I'm going to sign out now. Bye.